So, you know, why are men this way, really? Look at this. I'm running on watch the stitch, but just look at this.
Did a C-section. She did a C-section. I didn't do shit. But she's been having some issues with the nerve and stuff like that. So it's hard for her to be a little mobilized. So your boy's been, listen, I've realized this about myself. I'm a machine. I'm a machine, dude. Okay. I've been keeping some stats. Like, matter of fact, I got some numbers right here. I've heated up lunch 4 times. I've heated up dinner 8 times. I've made dinner twice. I've made lunch twice. I've made breakfast 8 times. This is since coming home on Thursday. I just want the people to know. Still got 3 workouts in. Got about 3 miles in yesterday. Diaper changes. I've done about 17 diaper changes. I've been able to take about 7 personal shits. Coffee consumed 51 cups. And then a stat that I just kind of made up. I think a lot of guys out there understand this. But the stat is called, can you get me this? 87 times.
Men. Okay, we don't want to watch the stitch. I just wanted to share that video. This is She's a Page Turner if you want to check out her videos. Okay. Now, this is what I call a base model of a man, okay? Very base model, okay? This is the model of the man that does the absolute basics and wants a gold star. Base model, yeah? Advanced models expect no gold star, nor do they brag about doing the basics, okay? This is the problem with base models, though. Base models literally make lists like this for doing things that women are trained under patriarchy to do without even thinking as children. My first diaper, baby's diaper I changed I was 9 years old. And that's when I started changing baby's diapers regularly. 9 years old. Do you think I've been counting count? Do you think I've been keeping count of how many diapers I've changed since I was 9 years old? Do you know what I'm saying? Why are men like this? Patriarchy. And also, it's kind of like low expectations. We expect nothing from men. So when they change a diaper, we're like, my mom used to literally brag about how clean my father was and how he loved to cook for the kids and babysit, watch his kids. And then she didn't say babysit. She was to say spend time with the kids, and how much my dad helped around the house by changing diapers. And I'm like, so I, to be fair, was raised with a father where I just obviously thought that was the basics. But my mom would say, oh, you know, some husbands don't even do that. I'm like, which husbands? Who's not doing this? You know what I mean? Well, a lot of husbands, apparently. Okay, this one's going viral as well. Get ready for this. Post-surgery sex, she said no. Get ready for this.
I tried to initiate it like a couple weeks in, and you were like, are you kidding me? Look at me.
No, because Jamie, 3 weeks was literally like, we need to have sex. Like, this is not normal. Please, Sophie, I waited a year. Literally crying. I was like,
Sophie, I was not.
You went, please, and stamped your little arms on your legs. And you were like, I've waited a year. And I was like, firstly, I actually physically cannot. I have stitches all over me down there. Secondly, I have to be signed off by the doctor. And you were like, oh, that's bullshit. Always an excuse with you. You don't have to be signed off with the doctor. I was like, get on the phone to Tarek now. Get on the phone to him.
Did I phone Tarek?
No, obviously not. He would have been like, you're a freak of a person.
Sophie was literally like, I'm not having sex with you. And I'm telling you why. And I was like, why? And she goes, I'm not having sex because A, I've just had my stomach ripped open. I got stitches everywhere. B, I have my son and your son sucking on my nipple every single day. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm fraught. The last thing I want is you breathing on me. Get out of here.
And then I forced you to come to my 6-week checkup with me because I wanted to sit in there and go to Tarek, isn't it true that you can't have sex until 6 weeks? And he said, yes, it is true.
Also, when you first come out and you can first eat the food that you can't eat during pregnancy the first week.
Okay. Ugh, this has been making the rounds. Obviously disgusting. Just disgusting, not helpful, gross, you know. And I think it's all connected. I think it's all connected to a lot of the problems that we're having. This disconnect, when we say men as a system, men as a group, like, he's not alone in this. This is not uncommon. Lots of women postpartum are raped because their husbands want sex. They're ripped open. Their stitches are ripped open so men can jerk off and basically, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's really gross. Okay. And this is why I'm telling you, whether you like it or not, whether you think you're one of the goodest, like the best men, the most good person, and you think like not all men, basically all men, All men, because of the way you guys have not been educated and the way you purposely stay away from education. Remember, the conservatives in the US, in the United States, are purposely not giving their kids sex education, are purposely not giving their kids access to birth control, are purposely not giving men classes on foreplay or anything else. I mean, I have liberal friends of mine, liberal Democrats, liberal. When I send my girlfriends vibrators as gifts because they are struggling in their sex life, their boyfriends have begged them to keep their vibrators in a different place or at their place because they feel replaced by a toy. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that whether you like it or not, maybe you think you've done the work, we all have to do the work. There's no way you grew up in the same world we all grew up in and all of a sudden you grew up perfectly different. You didn't. You still have shit to unlearn, right? And that's the dilemma. Is like, you might not have done, but have you been friends with? Have you joked around? Did you laugh at a joke? Did you watch this clip and think it was funny? Right? Like, there are so many people who think, oh, it's just a joke. You know, only in a safe space where you can vet people do you think it's just a joke. But I'm telling you, these men aren't joking. It's not just a joke. Okay, here's some stories about God of War. Look what happened.
You cannot be complaining about the male loneliness epidemic, then be posting stuff like this, calling God of War Laufey, God of War laundry. Then be using misogynistic rhetoric like, on behalf of gamers everywhere, please stop forcing strong female characters as the main character. Or saying stuff like this. What the F are they doing? No fan of God of War is gonna want to play this woke garbage. Yeah, let me swap from playing as mother effing Kratos, the God of War, a man who effed multiple women at once and kills gods themselves.
That's from Tectone, by the way, who infamously, you know, his father was kicked out of the military for raping people and a new policy had to be in place because of it. And Tectone, whose ex also accused him. So just FYI.
To a mid 40-year-old white woman. Absolutely horrendous. Hard skip is gay as F. I sometimes wonder why my family tree looks like a funeral wreath. Also, midwear. And to you, Miss Stormfall, you cannot be a willful token for the anti-woke gaming community and then get mad that they are being misogynistic and hateful towards one of your favorite gaming franchises in which its newest entry and said franchise happens to be a woman. It just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. You already know this already. You are a pawn. You are a token. You are a pawn that's already been played and a token that has already been spent. If you're not butt booty naked, making them a sandwich and being a submissive wife and or girlfriend, they don't want you and they don't value you. You should know this already. You shouldn't be calling these dudes idiots when you spread the same rhetoric as them. And I didn't forget about Domino's pandering to the anti-woke chuds that have nothing better to do than to wank off with Dorito dust cutting their meat while they're doing it. And then they had the nerve. And then they had the nerve to say, God of War game with no Kratos equal pepperoni pizza with no pepperoni. Man, if you don't shut your lane, I ain't even gonna get into all of that. Like I said in the beginning of my video, do not be complaining about a male loneliness epidemic when you be saying bull crap like this.
That's what I'm saying. Now, hold on. Let's take it a step further and let's talk about, okay, because I think we take for granted, girls, they, thems, the queers, happy pride. I think we do take for granted how much work we've done to deconstruct and how many of our people are still suffering from the mental conditioning that is pick-meism, okay? So this is a skit of how male-centered people sound to me, okay? But you know, like, I know I'm old now, okay? Older. So I've had a lot of years to read and deconstruct and do all the things. But this gave me flashbacks of, like, my teenage years, my early 20s, okay?
Really want to impress and be, I don't know, I just really want to impress and be pretty for my oppressor by the standards that his gender has been enforcing upon mine for centuries and generations. I'm pretty sure he would not even be able to harass, groom, and assault that woman because he was hot in a movie I liked in the 90s. I don't know, I choose to forgive him because what he did didn't affect me, and also he said he's sorry. And I feel like if we don't accept men's apologies, what example does that set going forward for men to apologize when they do something wrong? Technically, yes, all men are allowed on Earth because of women and would not be here if women's bodies didn't exist. But if you think about it, we should still be serving them because Adam gave us that rib way back when. I'm actually gonna say something here because I feel like no one ever stands up for men, and it's time someone finally did. please, 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 please pick me to weaponize your incompetence over. I don't know, I can tell that he doesn't really respect me, which is confusing because I do literally everything he tells me and completely demean and degrade myself to appease him. Yeah, but maybe like cheating on his wife was his only option because he was really lonely and he needed someone to talk to. And you know it's really hard for men to make friends from what they tell me. I haven't seen any of them try, but I believe everything they say, so. And deep down, I probably know that it's just easier to help enforce the patriarchy rather than wake up to how bad things really are and how deeply ingrained it is into every aspect of society. I don't know, I just
Anyways, hilarious and true. And this is why I say, ladies, decenter men. Decenter men. Even men who are on the left. Decenter men. I'm telling you, decenter patriarchy, decenter men, decenter men, decenter men. Here's Hassan Piker doing an interview with Jason, who's a streamer. You probably know him, maybe not. This is last year, talking about his body count.
When I was young, like up to like the 20th, I think I had it.
Okay. Higher or lower 100?
It's probably higher.
Yeah. God damn. Have you ever gotten a STD?
No. What? When I was young.
So allegedly, they're having a conversation about Hassan's body count. He says 100. First of all, 100 who? Where are all these women? Now, some people say it's because he sleeps with sex workers so they don't spill his tea, which is allegedly what he said himself. But he's also publicly dated some people. Here's another example of Jason and Hassan together.
Social when I was real parasocial when you dated that porn star.
Oh, Janice? Oh my God.
Yeah, I told you I'm a Twitcher.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah, bro.
That's been a long, that was like.
I told you I'm a Twitcher, bro.
You were watching me back then? That's like 29, I had 300 viewers.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
I was just on the app just fucking. I was.
Okay, and then this one. I know these are a little old, so we'll keep that in mind.
Need to clarify this. I just need to clarify this because I did not know this was your dating philosophy. I find this amusing. You have to have already had sex with a girl.
Not all the time, but most of the time.
You would prefer to.
Also, I will just say, because I know people are going to notice, this is an anti-snark HQ, so these are Ethan fans, so just keep that in mind. They're always digging up dirt on Hassan. And I'm not trying to get involved because both of these men suck, but I'm just trying to point out, though Hassan has been generally correct about a lot of the beef between him and Ethan, and I will say that because it's true, I don't want you guys to think that I'm anti-snark or that I'm a Ethan fan or something. Obviously, I know you guys probably don't think that this is a member stream, but okay, just.
You already had sex with a girl before you take her out on a date.
For sure.
Because you want to know that you will definitely, that if you're spending money on her, that she will definitely be sleeping with you.
No, come on. Why are you fucking... No,
look, it
don't
sounded
be a dick, Grace. God
Hassan,
damn it.
Hassan,
No,
it
it's
sounded,
not that at
it
all.
sounded
You're fucking
a lot
doing
like that.
No,
it sounded
it's
a lot
not.
like that.
No, I can get pussy for free, motherfucker. Do you want me to say that on camera here?
You just did.
No, that's not it at all.
Explain.
Dating is something that's more personal and more serious than not just sex, but just like meeting someone. Like if I'm going to spend time with them out of my busy schedule, I would like to know that person and see if I'm compatible with them or not. Otherwise, I feel like it's prostitution and I'm just paying for their time. That's what I feel like.
Okay.
That's why, and a lot of guys and a lot of girls even see it in that way, at least in the straight community, where they think like, oh, well, he paid for this dinner, so I guess I'll go all the way with him. Like, I don't want that sort of weird pressure around it. That's one. And then two, I don't like that there's this expectation that I have to pay for your time. If we've already had sex or if we've already spent time together, it doesn't necessarily have to be sexual or otherwise. If we've already spent time together and I know that I like this person, I don't feel weird about paying for a date.
But what if you have had sex with someone and then you're like, well, the sex was really nice, and then you hang out with them and you're like, but the personality sucks. But you've already spent
that
time.
happens. That's like my secondary form of
I'm just
figuring out if a person and I are compatible.
I don't want you to
figure
get
out
to-
if we're compatible sexually, if we have sexual chemistry, and then I figure out sometimes before, sometimes after. Obviously, it's not an exact science, Grace. Human interaction is complicated.
Hey, I'm your friend.
I know, you just put words in my mouth. That's why I'm being so defensive.
I was saying, is this what you're saying? And you said, no! And that's,
No,
I
you
was
didn't
just
say
asking.
it. No, you said it sounds a lot like that.
that's what you're saying.
And then
you
I
know
said,
what you were doing.
And
it
I said,
matter.
would you clarify?
Yeah.
And then I listened to you.
Okay.
And I didn't
Don't make
speak
me get
over
all
you.
right on your ass right now. No, seriously though. Like,
Okay, this is a very old clip for people wondering. I'm struggling to find the exact clip, but this is from a show called Pop Trigger. And this is an example of an episode with Hassan. Okay, this is 9 years ago.
You were away. And I'm
Oh,
really disappointed this happened while you were away. We got our very first piece of fan mail, and it was addressed to both you and I. I was very excited to open it up. It came in a mysterious box. I couldn't believe when our receptionist told us that we had gotten a piece of fan mail. And, well, it was this. It was Porn the Game. And this...
Thank you.
Yes.
Listen, I understand. Okay, so let's deconstruct this. There was a time on the internet when everything was sexual. Okay, everything was sexual. Every joke you made was sexual. You'd brag about being sexual. So I don't even blame Hassan for technically being a product of the environment. I'm saying, what has he truly done to get away from this, especially as the man in the conversation? So once again, women will use sexuality in order to even be seen as slightly involved in the conversation. I've done this before. You've seen me do it. Okay, right? I stopped engaging in any sort of even flirting 4 years ago now. What is it, four years ago now? Because I had a run-in with the debate bro bubble. So I don't even let it happen anymore. I'm like, no. Because like it used to be a safe space, or what it felt like a safe space. It used to feel safe to come on a show and talk about porn and sex with men until you realize they weaponize it against you in 2026 even, including Hassan Piker.
Chatters want you to see this. This is Elon Musk's baby mama who's sitting on that chair that you were sitting at a couple days prior. Ashley says,
did you ask her to describe Elon Musk's penis while she was in this chair?
I didn't get to it because I brought up...
No journalistic integrity whatsoever.
No, but I did.
No journalistic integrity.
I did broach the subject. I asked her straight up to her face, I said, did Elon Musk mail you his cum in a napkin?
Yeah.
Which is like the first way to broach the subject. And she
that's you lightly opening up.
I want to believe that.
You want to believe?
I want to believe that she's woke. I want to believe.
You're pathetic. This is how you're gonna end up in jail, bro. She's gonna be like, so tell me, Hassan, about all that cool stuff you were doing in Cuba. She's gonna have the fucking. She's gonna have the wire in her pussy.
Bro, that's so funny. That's what people were reclaiming because the subpoena came right after. The subpoena came right after she was here.
Hey, talk into my pussy about what kind of illegal stuff you did in Cuba.
Oh my god. It's crazy.
All of them weaponize it against you. And I'm saying, why are men like this? Because there's a reward under patriarchy. There will always be a reward for Hassan having a large count and girls having a disadvantage for girls having a large count, right? That's what he plays into. Bragging about it, talking about it, engaging in conversations about it. All this does is appeal to patriarchy, right?
And it was then once we received this, the company that makes Porn the Game has been tweeting at us and reaching out saying, hey, have you received the game? And so I thought we should shout out to them. This is our very first.
And by the way, him having the opinion that he likes to have sex with women before he wants to date them is a typical example of people, because of patriarchy, saying that dating is more important than sex. All of it is important, period. I used to say this too when I was younger. I'd say, oh, well, sex is more casual than dating. So like, I'm cool having sex with you before we date. Pause. What is that? That's patriarchy. Patriarchy convinces you that, oh, you should have sex with somebody before you even decide you like them. Like, what are we getting into bed for with people we don't even know if we like them? What? And I'm not saying you shouldn't have sex as quickly as you want to. I'm saying the fact that we're having sex to see if we like somebody, we're letting you inside of our bodies. We're getting inside of people's bodies before we even, that's what Hassan was saying. And that's what I used to say when I was younger. Because that's what I'm saying. I understand that we are all conditioned from patriarchy, but this is a patriarchal idea. This is why, God forbid, this whole conversation, wait, let me see if I can find you this clip. Hold on. You watch this while I find this clip for you.
First piece of fan mail. So let's take a look at it. Arty Packaging, big fan. I love how they say limited edition.
This young man just
ignore that.
Censored. See, it's kind of, yeah, fucked, but it's, child friendly a little bit. And then here are the pieces.
Yeah, real child friendly. The first thing that comes up, it says dirty talk, shit, fuck, cunt. That's the first thing that comes up on the, real child friendly.
All right, so Hassan, you open the pieces of the game while I will read you a little bit about the rules. Okay, so here are the rules to Porn the Game.
God.
Porn the Game is an homage to the history and beauty of vintage smut. An era.
I can't find it, but I will say this. This was very normal back in the day. to create a scenario in which you could talk about sex, make sex jokes, talk about sex toys, and it felt really liberating. There was a time in which it felt very liberating to talk about sex education. I mean, I think at one point we were all like peer sex educators on the internet. Like, I can't tell you how many things I've done on camera or on YouTube when I was being like a rebellious millennial, thinking I was like really like owning the man. Like, guys, infamously, like things that I would never do now, and things that I'm like, why did I even do that? Because at the time you're like really trying to like set yourself apart. But that's why I say be careful on how you deconstruct, because you might be doing stuff that you're like, oh, I would never do that now. So I give Hassan a lot of leeway for it, but I question even today's modern Hassan, like, how much have you deconstructed? There was a TikTok going viral. I can't find it right now, but there was a TikTok going viral about this guy saying like, when should she put out, basically? And even that language, put out. Right? Or even some women holding on to sex, saying like, oh, I'm going to hold on to sex as like a tool. Guys, we need to deconstruct all of this, because that's all patriarchal talk. Patriarchy sees sex as a tool or something to hold and to barter with. That's why conservatives say don't give it away. That's why in the movie Taken, we watched this TikToker cover this. I don't remember her name, but she said, you notice how in the movie Taken, his daughter's worth saving because she hasn't been touched yet. But how about all the other daughters he came across and thought, oh, it's too late for them. Notice that Liam Neeson doesn't save anyone else's daughter through that process, even though he's running into a lot of the women there. But because they've already been drugged up or raped, they're not worth saving. Only his daughter is worth saving. Exactly. All of us need to deconstruct this idea of like saving yourself, not saving yourself, having sex, not having sex, right? Okay. Ugh. Why are men like this? Why are they like this? Patriarchy. Why are any of this like But remember, it's not equal. Women are not opposite of men. You can't say, well, Brittany, women are doing it too. Women are not doing it too. The why changes everything. Women are doing it to survive and be seen as equals. Men are doing it to show off to other men. If the system of men needing to show off to other men was deconstructed, women would stop doing it. Men have an incentive to keep doing it because women will stop. Think about it. Think about how everything will change. Everything will change if we dismantled this. And a lot of the men, even the ones who are, quote, the good men, don't want it to change. Because they already feel like they're getting the short end of the stick because they're also battling white supremacy and capitalism. But they're all connected. Because what do men blame the nuclear family being destroyed? They blame the LGBTs. They blame feminism. Oh, the West is losing because women have rights now. That is patriarchy. And that is a lot of men think that. A lot of men think feminism has made their life worse. Discord said, I mean, just purely in Hassan's logic, it seems like a lot to write off an entire relationship with someone because of bad sex. Not to mention that a lot of good sex is had after you get to know somebody. Not to mention that sex gets better for a lot of us when we get to know somebody.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean? What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Are you mad at me?
You're coming at me with these questions is kind of like, is weird and intrusive, I guess.
Why do they get so mad?
What do you mean? What's your actual question?
I have my theories.
I think that you're trying to bait men into
All she asks when she goes up to men is like, why are men like this?
clips you can use to make us look bad.
We've all heard the saying, a man's greatest fear is being humiliated. Well, a woman's greatest fear is being by a man.
You're not even thinking about what it's like to be a man then, because I'm a man. I have to work for a living.
I do think when I run up to a man, they think I'm probably about to start flirting with them.
I'm trying to ask men, why are you like this?
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
And instead, I ask them a question that maybe they find confusing.
What? You have to be more specific with your questions.
Their confusion goes instantly to embarrassment.
I don't like this.
Oh.
I don't like general.
And embarrassment causes rage.
I can tell that you're like a liberal, for sure.
Good to know you're a fan.
I'm not.
I didn't even ask you any questions.
No.
Men are not supposed to be challenged.
Why are you like this?
Fuck that.
Or questioned by anyone.
Have a good day.
Especially not a woman.
You don't like that? Question? It just means like, why are men the way they are?
Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
What the fuck is...
Like, there's, so much anger in the response. Now, chat, you said withholding sex makes sense, though, to make sure the man is serious. Once again, that is a tool of patriarchy. I know you think that makes sense, but that is a tool of patriarchy. As it is a tool of patriarchy to judge a woman for not withholding sex. What is this game we're playing? Are we grown adults? Would you like to have sex with me? Yes or no? And then we can talk about STI testing and background checks and whatever else you want to do. Meet my family, feel safe, whatever. But if we start talking about our intimacy with others as something we barter and trade, for what? What do you mean, need to check if you're serious? You know what I'm saying? Like, as if men don't marry women and have 10 kids with them just to betray them and rape them or kill them or sleep with their sister. You know what I mean? There's nothing you can do to really stop an abuser from being abusive. You can only do your best to see through a liar's, lie. But the truth is like good men, good people, good whatever gender, right? They don't need to barter. There's no bartering. I remember I dated this non-binary person and we were dating and I was like, how soon do you want to have sex? And they're like, oh, right away. I was like, great. And we went and got tested. We sat down and negotiated. We talked to our partners because we were open at the time. And we just had sex and started dating and it was great. No issues, no problems, no whatever. Because again, we're both grown-ups. Well, I'm not lying to you. I want to have sex with you. Why would I play a game about not having sex? I want to have sex with you. I really like you. Would you like to have sex with me? Great. Let's go get tested. Let's do our paperwork. Let's talk to our partners. Let's have sex. Okay? Like in the most ideal world, we would be honest and transparent about attraction. Hey, I'm really attracted to you. Would you like to see? But of course, it also is layered. You have to negotiate. You have to get to know a person. You have to see that person's particular, like you have to see them as a person, like as a human being, as like a consciousness. You have to really value them for who they are. So it's not a game to get laid. It's an interest in a real person. So it's not a game to get laid. Do you know what I'm saying? So again, I don't know how much Hassan has done the work to deconstruct this, but I wouldn't be that surprised if he hasn't done much. Most people don't have to. Okay? Most people haven't had to. And I'm saying all of this is connected to patriarchy because all of this is connected to power, entitlement, and control. Now, I want to end this segment with something that I think you're probably thinking, what does that have to do with anything? But stay with me here. Did you hear this story out of, I think it's Georgia. Let me double check. Yeah, Georgia, the country. Listen to this. Listen to this.
A 22-year-old Canadian man from Vancouver has been detained in Georgia. The family of Simon Ravensky says he was arrested after entering the country with his ADHD medication. It had been prescribed by a Canadian doctor, but in Georgia, authorities require the medication to be transported in its original packaging and accompanied by a doctor's prescription. And Ravensky's family says that he was unaware of those rules and he did not have the necessary documentation with him. They say that he has been charged with large-scale smuggling, as well as the illegal acquisition and possession of narcotic substances.
He's obviously not doing well. I mean, he's in Gladani prison number 8, which has been associated with the torture and the sexual abuse of prisoners. So it's a very scary place to be. Simon came initially to visit me in Turkey for his birthday, and he was going to be here to celebrate my birthday. You know, it was his mistake, but what happened next was just insane. Like the fact that he's looking at 12 to 20 years in prison and tens of thousands of dollars as a fine is completely crazy. Let this be a warning to the other Canadians out there that might be traveling with their ADHD medication. Like, it's not okay. And I really hope that more is done from the government to help.
This is patriarchy. Because only in patriarchy would you control something in such a specific manner. And I know you don't get that it's all connected, but it's 1000% connected. Okay? They want it in the original packaging. From who? Unopened? Who here gets medication that isn't counted by a pharmacist into a bottle and labeled, right? I brought a whole pack of pills here to Croatia with me when I moved here. And I honestly cannot recall in this exact moment if I double checked before I came over, but I just had it in a prescription bottle, like 500 pills. Okay, because I got like, it wasn't that many. It was probably like 200 pills. But I got medication for my medication. It wasn't ADHD meds, but still, ADHD meds tend to be, they call it like legal meth because it's a stimulant. And so I think that that's probably a big part of it. But I think that's the problem is like we assume people should know these things. And I'm saying it's very cruel to assume that people should know these things. And only under patriarchy would you say, well, shouldn't you know that? No. Why would I know that? Same thing with Brittany going to Russia and possibly having that vape pen on purpose or not on purpose. Why the fuck would she assume that? Why the fuck would any of us assume anything? Okay? And I'm saying only men would criminalize people's medication, which is why they've connected to capitalism, which is why they do what they do. You know how many of these people steal your meds? How many of these people steal your drugs? They don't give a fuck that you had drugs. They just want it for themselves. They literally don't give a fuck about your life. They're willing to throw you in prison for meds you need for your health. That's what I'm saying. This is patriarchy. This is entitlement. This is the bullshit that we all have to deal with because of patriarchy, because of entitlement control. And this is why I say we have to dismantle these things, because it's absolutely connected. Because in no way do you care about humanity and you're doing this to people. Prison systems in general are patriarchal. You're punishing men for existing in ways that you either haven't educated them on or you've decided is just because of what? It's a controlling of their bodies. This is why men are trying to create legislation to criminalize women for abortions and to say that it's possibly a murder charge. They're trying to put women in prison for abortions. Patriarchy. Patriarchy. And then women go along with it because they say it in such a specific way, right? Like the conversation we had earlier about the legislation that wants to take drunk drivers and criminalize them and make them accountable for child support of children whose parents they kill in drunk driving. Sounds good, isn't it? Except it's not good. It comes and falls on the people instead of the government's supplying finances to those children whose parents have died. Now it's to the person who's going to be in prison. So you're taking medication away from people because you don't understand it or because they didn't know something about it. You know, this is so layered and connected. Now, going back and circling around it to dating, bartering, sex is intimacy. All of these things should not be bartered and sold. Now, you might say, well, Brittany, how does this play into sex work? I am pro legalized, safe sex work that's done in a good philosophical way, which is not 99% of the sex work that's happening. 99% of the sex work that's happening is wrong, sex trafficking, capitalistic, and evil. That doesn't mean sex work is bad. It means the way we engage with it because of white supremacy and capitalism and patriarchy, it has become bad. Same thing with drugs or anything else. Now, you might say, but Brittany, we can't trust people to be good with these things, so we have to make it illegal. But who are the people, who are the majority of people who are having a bad relationship with drugs, sex, and violence? Who is it? Who's the number one population that doesn't seem to have a good relationship with these things? And who makes it harder on everybody else because they're not having a good relationship with these things? It is men. Being raised in patriarchy. Because being raised in patriarchy also means that men are entitled. It's men, okay, as a system. Now, even Chatter Above said about women withholding sex, they said then when he said he has sex with you, he ghosts you. First of all, again, if a man ghosts you after having sex with you, okay, he's a shitty person. Right? If women withhold sex to see that the man is a real man or a real good guy, so he doesn't ghost you after having sex, you've already started off on the bad foot. Why the fuck are we playing these games? Me having to play this game with me tells me something has gone wrong. I didn't have to play this game with any person that I've ever had sex with. Not one single person I have ever had sex with did I have to play some fucking game about like, oh, if he had sex, oh, if he did this, oh, if he did this. Do you know why? Because I didn't start having sex until after I'd been in queer circles and BDSM circles, until I learned about STI testing and negotiation. So every person I had sex with, starting at the age of 22, were people that were also on the same page with me in terms of ethics. So almost every single person that I've ever engaged with sexually, almost, has at least been at a certain point, okay, very progressive and or at least liberal and or at least friends, at least socially involved in our group. So there was also a social consequence. Right? And that's what I'm saying. You said, so that's why I'm saying it makes sense to withhold sex. Men can be shitty and lie. But withholding sex doesn't stop men from lying. Withholding sex does not make men less shitty. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a false dream that women set for themselves. And then men learn this and go, oh, I'm going to hold out. Ooh, I wonder how many dates. Then it becomes a game for the men. Now the men get to play a game about like, ooh, how many dates until she puts out. Right? And I'm saying, stop. Stop. And that's why I say, even for women who say, oh, because men are so shitty, I'm not going to have sex. Stop engaging with these men. Stop deciding if you're going to have sex because of men. Stop deciding you're going to have sex because of men. Connect with an individual that you love or are connected to, regardless of gender, and engage with that person. Stop having sex with men. Stop having sex with women and start having sex with people you like. Okay? That's what we're saying. But again, when we circle back to the way we were raised, the patriarchal bubbles we're raised in, everything is connected. So it's not just sex that becomes a tool of withholding. It's our medication. It's our livelihood. It's our homes. Like all of this is connected. Think about everything that's happening in terms of it. I know you guys think like, but this is all connected. People who give you bank loans, who withhold your right to take out loans because of your skin color or your gender or who you are, is all connected back to the bedroom. It's all connected back to who can have families, who's allowed to own homes, who's allowed to drive cars, who's allowed to vote. All of this is connected. It's always about power. It goes back to the beginning of stream when we talked about veganism and food, how food is connected to power. I have access to certain food. I have access to taking certain life. I have access and control over what you eat and how your family feeds itself. It always comes back to control. And I'm saying until we stop desiring to control not only ourselves, but others, only then can we be free to actually start to live a good life. You must let go of this desire to control. Okay. Now, I say this about my own parents because a lot of people hear my stories with my parents and they miscategorize it all the time. One sign that I have that my parents are actually good people is they never control their children taking space. They never control what their kids do. They're opinionated. Okay? But they don't control us. They don't turn around and like threaten us for saying like we need space away. Do they misunderstand it? Yes. But most people do. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to explain to not only my parents, but my siblings why I'm doing open with boundaries with my parents. It's a very difficult thing what I'm trying to do. I'm way ahead of my fucking time. Give me some social credit here that I'm trying to do something that might be so ahead of its time, not even the internet gets it. But I'm telling you, I'm trying to do something different for once in our fucking lives. Not cut people off, not block people, not say I hate you or I don't love you, to say I love you so radically that I'm always available for you when you're ready to have a real conversation about the dignity of our relationship together. It is so radical. And it is so different that even my own siblings, I've had to re-explain what I'm doing because even they're like, I don't get what you're doing. I'm like, I know, because no one's ever done it in this family before. Nobody in this family has ever truly made the adults face themselves in such a real way, even if it means never seeing them again. And so we'll do it. The same with society. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying never have we ever looked at society and really said, no. I love you, but no. To all the men in our life, I love you, but absolutely not. I love you from a distance, no. We have made excuses after excuse after excuse because we're desperate and alone and fearful. And I'm saying no more. Not for our favorite streamers, not for our politicians, not for the men in our life, not for our fathers, not for anybody. Not even for our own safety. Because at some point, this golden cage, it's starting to look rusty. I'm not interested. Okay? Right? Absolutely not. It needs to be about connection, the dignity of creating a life, the dignity of raising a person, the dignity of connecting with a person. It should go back to being about something wholesome and beautiful and loving. Not something that you barter with, not something that's, negotiated like a business deal. Not something that's, you give me this, I give you this. None of it. And that's why I say these women who are trying to survive under capitalism, like Shira, Sprinkle. Shira recently put out a video and said, just a reminder, I'm not a relationship coach. I'm a money coach. You know what I mean? Hold on. Let me see if I can find this TikTok. And that's what I'm trying to say. She's trying to help you. Oh, here it is. Hold on. Look.
Y'all, public service announcement. Once again, I am here to inform you. I am not a dating coach. I am a get your money from these men coach. Okay? I'm not here to tell you how to have a happy, healthy, emotionally stable relationship. I'm here to tell you how to get your money, keep your money, grow your money by using his and saving yours. I'm here to teach you that you should not be going 50-50 and that you should definitely not be reaching in your wallet when you're in the presence of a grown, able-bodied man. Thank you.
Okay, I am here to give you advice on how to have a loving relationship, how to have a good connection with somebody, how to be happy with your life as it is, single and within your community, or connected in someone's companion. I am here to tell you that you can have these things and or it's okay if you never find that person. Shira 7 is a woman surviving in capitalism, and I'm here to tell you how to live in capitalism, not just survive. But if you are in a survival place, Shira 7 could be the thing between you being with a man who beats you and you being with a man who doesn't. So I do see why Share 7 has saved hundreds, maybe thousands of women from abusive relationships, because I see that. I also see how some of these women are in abusive relationships that they don't even know they're in because they don't quite understand what Shira is saying, and or maybe it ultimately leads them in a bad place. So I don't want to take for granted the amount of women that have told me Share 7 saved me from an abusive relationship. I think that's true. And I would say that she's also giving you advice for somebody surviving patriarchy, surviving capitalism. And I'm saying, as somebody who's liberated her personal spirit from these constructs, I think you can live while acknowledging the oppression we all experience. And I don't take for granted that Share 7 is a Black woman. I don't take for granted that she's older than me. I don't take for granted any of the privileges I might have when we think about those nuances, right? And I will tell you that one of the things that I cannot do is stay surviving. Because if that's the case, I'm going to kill myself. I'm either going to have the best life and support everybody else having that best life, or there is no incentive to stay existing. I refuse to stay existing, surviving. And it doesn't have to come with lots of money. It has to come with a grounding understanding of what it means to be alive. Philosophy. Because it's not enough if you try to sell me, going back to the beginning of stream, how can you try to sell me on existing when what you're selling me is survival? Not good enough. And we have for too long groups, oppressed groups, happy pride everybody, have stayed surviving and said good enough. And I'm saying absolutely not good enough. Not good enough. Not good enough. Okay? So we end on 2 TikToks about pride that I think are very important for this topic. One, that they're not just going to come for queer people, because it always is said that way. They're coming for our allies. Okay? News out of Ghana is very difficult for people, not only in the LGBTQIA, but their supporters and allies. Reported from CNN an hour ago.
If you are an LGBTQ ally, you could face prison time in Ghana. That is just one part of a controversial new bill passed by Ghana's parliament. The bill would maintain existing penalties on same-sex sexual acts and impose prison sentences on people accused of promoting, supporting, or advocating for LGBTQ rights.
Your moms, your dads, your grandparents, your siblings, your bosses, your friends, they're going for not just you, they're threatening the whole family.
That means people who aren't LGBTQ themselves, but who publicly support LGBTQ rights, could also face criminal penalties. Plus, the bill creates a duty to report, requiring people to alert authorities to all alleged LGBTQ activity. Supporters say the bill would protect traditional Ghanaian values, but human rights groups say it could further marginalize an already very vulnerable community.
What it attempts to do is to say that this law is, or LGBTQ people are not part of Ghana.
Ghana joins countries including Senegal, Uganda, and Burkina Faso that have passed or strengthened anti-LGBTQ laws in recent years. The bill is now awaiting presidential approval, with Ghana's president saying on Monday that he will review it before it can become law.
I'm devastated. I'm devastated for people globally, but do not get it twisted. First, do not let white supremacy convince you this is a Black issue, because white supremacists are also trying to take away your LGBTQIA rights. Right now in the United States, white Christian men are trying to literally make it impossible to be trans. They're creating lists. They're going after trans people. So do not let white supremacy convince you this has anything to do with skin color. Second, patriarchy. Religion is at play here. We've got patriarchal standards being pushed on all of us, not just us as individuals, but our families. And then, of course, capitalism. This is absolutely tied to stability in countries, bartering, who we make deals with, who we hang out with. How does your country deal with family values? How does mine deal with family values? Oh, maybe we can trade. Maybe we can I'm telling you, the big 3, it's always the big 3, girls: patriarchy, capitalism, white supremacy. And it's going to destroy us, and it continues to destroy us. And it continues to destroy not only us as individuals, but our families and our friends. So now look at the pressure. Do you know I didn't come out? I was the first person in my family to come out, and I was so afraid to come out because I was afraid of how my family would be treated. I was afraid of how it would impact my family. That's what kept me in the closet for so long. And then when I came out, I might have been the first person to come out, but I wasn't the first person to be gay in my family. Okay? I'm not the only person. Okay? So I was talking to my trans friend about this yesterday. We're talking about gender and our gender, journey. And I said, if this is what being trans is, then I just don't feel very different. I feel pretty good about myself. But if this is trans, everybody might be trans, or a lot of people might be queer or neurodivergent. But I'll tell you this, the only thing I felt on this gender deconstruction journey that has felt really significantly different is a new level of fear. That's what I felt. A very specific new level of fear where I was like, oh, interesting. Interesting. I already feel a default sense of fear being a queer person, but even questioning gender, even questioning even identifying as a gender like even that is like a new level of fear that I'm like, there it is. And I will tell you this right now, never do anything because you're afraid or desperate. So I will not be afraid, but the fear is there. Ending this segment with philosopher a look on pride.
Sometimes I worry that we call ourselves proud even though we're not. Pride isn't automatic. Claiming an identity is also only the beginning. We must embark on the lifelong process of unlearning the shame we've inherited from a society that told us to disappear. As queer people, we often structure our lives around being accepted by heteronormative society. In that pursuit, we neglect to accept ourselves. Self-acceptance is paramount because when we don't, we run the risk of reenacting the trauma we experience on each other. Queer and trans people can perpetuate homophobia and transphobia. This is not a contradiction, it's a trauma response. Compulsory pride has made it so that people can't be honest about the ways in which they still hold shame. It offers a contingent love, yet another disappearing act. Ironically, it shames those who are still ashamed. It reinforces a self-destructive cycle that prevents us from being honest about our varied, difficult, and ongoing journeys.
I love a look. And I think I agree with chat. They are the future. And they are exactly the point. That I don't want you to fake having pride in who you are. I want you to earn it. Like the Super Saiyan you are, girls, okay? And during this Pride Month, right? I want all of us to unlearn and continue unlearning all of the bullshit we've been taught, all of the pressure that we're feeling. And I want us to remember the most radical thing you can do is live proud and out. And that's why I say for all the people who have been in my comments this last week, lecturing me, a queer person, a West Asian queer person, about the privileges that I have, I agree that I have privileges. Are you ready to accept yours as well? Because I'll tell you this right now, are you fighting for everything you have right now? And do you understand that the first ones they're going to pick up are the disabled, me, the queer, me? That even in this system, I'm still the first one they're going to pick up over your favorite streamers? And that's why I'm saying, like, I'm not here to play games of who's suffering the most, but I'm trying to say it's interesting the way we can't see when marginalized people speak up and see the issues in the way that the people are doing things, how we still get silenced. And I'm saying I want to make sure that I move with grace, but I also want to make sure that I am not budging from this point, that a lot of our favorites still have a lot of work to do. And the only reason they are as popular as they are is because they fit within the framework of this oppression. The oppressors do not let just anybody rise to fame. And even chat said 99% of Americans will never take a person who looks like this seriously. Exactly. Whether we like it or not, a look is too queer, okay? Is too queer to be seen as somebody that you could ever see as president, you could ever see as a world leader, even though they would probably be the best type of president, the best type of world leader. Not to say that this is their strength, you know what I'm saying? But to say that we should look for a future that allows people to be radically themselves, especially in a safe and coherent and lovely way. A look is a very dignified person and they deserve to be out and proud and dignified in that. And I want that for all of us, right? And I think that we need to work on it by acknowledging the intersections in which we exist, the way privilege impacts all of us, yes. And even more than that, the way that even the allies are going to be targeted, but even the way the people who say they're fighting for us, they come at us. That's what I mean to say when I say it's interesting when marginalized people speak up and say like, hey, what about this, this, and this on our side of the stuff? And they go, oh, shh. It's like, no. Our bar, our requirement, our standard cannot be Trump. It cannot be the Republicans. I don't care what they're doing. What they're doing, we already know the bar is in hell. What we're doing has to be better and more dignified than that. Period. Always the end. I would rather die dignified than live with the bar in hell. But it seems like a lot of people who say they're fighting for me, they want to fight for me while telling me to be silent. And I'm saying, what's the point of this? What is this really about then? if we're telling people to be quiet because they don't look the right way. You know, we had this in 2008 when we fought for gay marriage. We were told, because I was very political then, involved. And they told us, all of the weird queer people in the back, they told us, let's put forward the most normie looking gay couples, their normie kids. And I thought, yeah, that's a really good strategy. And I'm saying, fuck your strategy. We've been doing this time and time again, and it's not working. We shouldn't have to look a certain way to be accepted. Our families shouldn't have to look nuclear for them to be normal. Okay? We're over it. But let me tell you this, political groups, the Democrats, have been using marginalized people forever for campaigns, and they throw us under the bus anytime an election comes around, anytime it's convenient. We saw it with Kamala. We saw it with Gavin Newsom. We're going to see it with so many others. I'm a little too tired to stand back and say, ooh, for the cause. How about this for the cause? Actually fight for the right reasons, and we can all get behind this cause. But I'm not going to get behind a cause or a streamer or a political politician who isn't exactly what we need. And yes, I think that person exists, okay? That's the other thing. They will say, oh, nobody exists. Yes, they do. How dare you think in a planet of 8 billion people, in a country of 350, in a group of people we know? Yes, we do. You just don't want to work with us because you know you would rather hang out with the people who are doing bad things behind closed doors than actually create a government or a group of people in charge who are actually good people. There are plenty of good people in the world. And what a weird message to send to the rest of us, huh? Guys, there's just no good people. We have to pick the bad people. There's not enough good people. There's enough good people. Okay, there is enough. You just don't want to elect them into office. And maybe they're not running for office because are there any good people in politics? Maybe not. Maybe the best people for this position are people who would never want it. And that's history, isn't it? Isn't that the irony? Sometimes the best people to be parents are the people who don't want kids. Sometimes the best people to be leaders are people who understand the responsibility of it. And then we go, there we go.